Father John Herrera grew up in Norman, Oklahoma, and is the oldest of 6 children. He graduated from Conception Seminary College in 2015, and then was assigned to study theology at St. Meinrad Seminary and School of Theology in Indiana, where he graduated with a Master's of Divinity this past May. Father John was ordained a Catholic priest on June 29, 2019, and is currently the parochial vicar of St. Francis Xavier in Enid, as well as St. Gregory the Great and St. Michael's in Goldtree. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Father John Herrera.
Good evening. Archbishop is right, I can only see half of you. Always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope. Lately, people have been asking me, so how is priesthood? How's the first month been? And I tell them, it's wonderful. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. It works better if you fit your lips over both sides. When Lisa McKelvey first emailed me about giving this talk, she said all I had to do was tell my vocation story. So y'all better lean back a little bit. So I decided to begin my vocation story where all great vocation stories begin. I was homeschooled. No, but my story begins at home. I was about 14 years old when I first considered a religious vocation, actually. My mom, why are you laughing? My mom had read to my sisters and I the life of Saint Francis of Assisi, and I had great dreams of running away and kissing lepers. But instead I settled for the diocesan priesthood. But after that short-lived desire for the religious life, I ended up going to college at Oklahoma City Community College. I loved my time there, and after I graduated from OCCC, I applied to the General College at the University of Oklahoma. I was accepted, and I promptly proceeded to drag my feet and not enroll in classes. And boy, am I glad that I did. See, up to that point, I really had just been treading water, not really getting anywhere. I didn't know what God had in mind for me, and every time someone asked, "Have you considered a vocation to the priesthood?" I would kind of smile and say, "Uh-huh." But that's probably not for me. I was very involved with campus ministry at St. Thomas More. This was during the pre-Focus era. And in the spring of 2011, I went on a mission trip to Biloxi, Mississippi, yes, thank you. And while I was there, we had this wonderful opportunity to stay in a convent that some wonderful Vietnamese nuns had vacated for us. And during that time, we would go out during the afternoons and do cleanup work and building houses and whatnot. But in the evenings, we would get together and just have fellowship, prayer, and it was a lot of free time on my hands. And we were in a convent, and there was this beautiful, simple little chapel there where the Blessed Sacrament was reserved. And it was during that time, before the Blessed Sacrament, I had a lot of time in that silence there with our Lord Jesus. And while I was in prayer, my head was down, and I heard very distinctly a voice. And that voice said, "I want you to be my priest." And my head shot up. You know how you can hear your own interior voice and you know what that sounds like? This wasn't that. And I said, "Lord, No, you don't. That's a terrible idea. So like I said, thanks be to God, I took time off from school that year. I drugged my feet and didn't get enrolled in classes. And during that time, I applied for a job and was accepted by my pastor at St. Joseph's, Father Ed Manasco. And during that time, I was cleaning toilets and mopping floors. They have a Blessed Sacrament chapel there, and it was there just being near to our Lord on a near daily basis that he worked on me, and he continued to tell me, I want you to be my priest. And I went on that same mission trip the next year, was in the same chapel, more time before our Lord. And as you can imagine, that experience the year before it had made a deep impression on me. So I came home a little bit flummoxed, and I called Father Zach Bozeman, who was applying to the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City at the time. This was the spring of 2012. And I kind of talked to him about my own fears and anxieties about the possibility of entering formation for the priesthood. And we had a good conversation, and he encouraged me. He said, call Father Novak. He was the vocations at the time. And I was like, oh. He said, no, go ahead, call him. It'll be fine. Well, I was at a friend's house, Deacon Steve and Deb Lewis's house, actually, a house sitting for them. And I was alone, thanks be to God. And I decided to make the call, so I picked up the phone, and I heard a voice on the other line. Father Bill Novak. Hello, Father Novak. This is Father John Herrera, or not Father. I wasn't. This is John Herrera. We've never met, and I figured I should probably let someone know. It's not that big of a deal. It's probably not going to pan out. But I thought it'd be prudent maybe to just let you know I'm maybe considering a vocation of the priesthood. Oh, well, that's wonderful, John. Are you available on the 14th? Oh, I can see you. And so I said, oh, the 14th, sure. And he says, great, we'll see you then. Click. And I was really glad that I was alone, because it was ugly. I mean, I thought I'd signed in blood on the dotted line. Fine, Lord, whatever you want. Forget my plans. I didn't have any plans. And I remember laying there, going to sleep in this bed in this house that I didn't own, between two dogs. And I was miserable. But I gotta tell you, the next morning when I woke up was the most peace-filled of my entire life. I realized that my life was now moving in a direction towards a vocation. My life had found an orientation towards Him, towards my Lord, towards our Lord. And I gotta say that the past 7 years, while I haven't been a cakewalk, have been the best years of my life. I mean that truly. I've had the opportunity to do so much. to learn so much, to experience so much, meet so many people. I have hundreds of brothers now, and that's a good thing. But none of that would have been possible without the kindness, the prayers, and the generosity of so many wonderful people. And my story is just one of many. My brothers here, in turn, could tell you many, many more. The great joy of the priesthood is to be a servant to the servants, that is, to you, the people of God, and specifically for me, to you, the people of the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City. And together, we are continuing the Lord's work, building that kingdom. I'm so grateful, so grateful to everyone who has led me to our Lord's holy altar. Thank you so much for your kindness, your love, and your generosity. Know of my thoughts and prayers for you and for your family, and on behalf of all of the seminarians of the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, thank you and God bless you.